Hello everyone, this is a daily devotional video for September 16th, 2017. Our passage for today is in the book of Jonah. In the Old Testament, we're reading the entire first chapter of Jonah. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord sent out a great wind on the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship was about to be broken up. Then the mariners were afraid, and every man cried out to his God, and threw the cargo that was in the ship into the sea to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down into the lowest parts of the ship, had laid down, and was fast asleep. So the captain came to him and said to him, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God. Perhaps your God will consider us that we may not perish. And they said to one another, Come, let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this trouble has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. Then they said to him, Please tell us, for whose cause is this trouble upon us? What is your occupation? And where do you come from? What is your country? And of what people are you? And he said to them, I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Then the men were exceedingly afraid and said to him, Why have you done this? For the men knew that he had fled from the presence of the Lord, because he had told them. Then they said to him, What shall we do to you, that the sea may be calm for us? For the sea was growing more tempestuous. And he said to them, Pick me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will become calm for you. For I know that this great tempest is because of me. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring the ship to land, but they could not, for the sea continued to grow more tempestuous against them. Therefore they cried out to the Lord and said, We pray, O Lord, please do not let us perish for this man's life, and do not charge us with innocent blood, for you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you. So they picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea ceased from its raging. Then the men feared the Lord exceedingly, and offered a sacrifice to the Lord, and made vows. Now the Lord had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Title for today's devotional is The High Cost of Resisting God. When Jonah ran away from the Lord, he probably thought he had escaped an undesirable assignment. But rebellion never makes life better or easier. Before long, he found himself in an even less pleasant situation, taking a wild ride inside a fish. 2 things stand out in this story. 1. Jonah's determination to get away. The reluctant prophet was sent in one direction, but boarded a ship going the opposite way. Perhaps you've had the same problem Jonah had. God's plans don't match yours. We can coast along, enjoying fellowship with the Lord, until the day He asks us to do something we don't like. That's the point at which our devotion to Him is tested. If you resist, He will allow a storm to rage in your soul until you submit to His authority. 2. The second thing stands out. God's persistence in going after him. As a prophet, Jonah was to speak for the Lord. That's a commitment God takes seriously. When you read through today's passage, you'll notice certain actions the Lord took to help Jonah fulfill his obligation. Those are not the kind we want to experience. He hurled a great wind on the sea, that's in verse 4, and appointed a great fish to swallow Jonah, verse 17. When we resist God, he will put pressure on us so he can get our attention and bring us back to himself. That's how important we are in his eyes. Rebellion carries a high price tag. We lose not only peace and joy, but also future opportunities to serve God. Consequences can even reach into eternity. You wouldn't want to stand before Christ knowing that disobedience led to a loss of eternal rewards. Begin now to obey quickly and fully. Wow. It's always a bad idea to run away from God. When I read that, I'm always amazed. God told Jonah, go to Nineveh, because their wickedness has come up against me. I want you to go to Nineveh and cry out against it. And Jonah just went the opposite direction as fast as he could. And I'm just like, there was no give and take. There was no asking why God. There was no, he just boom went the opposite direction. And when you do that, it's never a good thing. If God calls you to do something, even if it's something you don't like, he will equip you and make sure you can do what he's asking you to do in his strength and through his help. So it's always best, like the last line says, begin now to obey quickly and fully. I love you guys so much. Have a blessed day and hope to see you back here again tomorrow.